Hello everyone and welcome back to Animation Pilgrimage, the show where Tennille and I take a look at every single theatrically released animated film in chronological order, and we have another throwback episode. We're all the way back in 1949 with the French film Alice in Wonderland.
Take a breath.
Hi, how's it going?
Hope everyone's having a good week. Yeah, so today we finished the 70s last time, so we're catching up on a few films that people have found and sent to us between now and when we start the 80s. 80s is almost here.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, today is Alice in Wonderland, a French film from 1949, which makes this an Alice in Wonderland adaptation that came out 2 years before the Disney adaptation.
Fascinating. They keep a lot of the same similarities, but it makes me wonder if... I'm assuming that a lot of that is just because of the original story by Lewis Carroll that I've not read.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't like it.
A lot of the same, character designs and, aesthetics are chalked up to, the storybook illustrations that were part of the...
original book?
Yeah.
That
or at least
sense.
part of the releases around that time.
Before we get too far, I do want to say thank you to Nerd Bros Inc. for finding this movie for us.
Mm-hmm.
We are able to watch it because you found it, and now we're watching it.
Mm-hmm.
I guess to give everyone a little bit of context, if you're watching this farther down the line and you're just watching all of AP, you'll already know what other movies were in the same year, but in case you don't know what was in that year, I'll just point out that we also watched The Emperor's Nightingale, Ichabod and Mr. Toad, and The Singing Princess in the same year.
Okay.
So that gives you a rough idea of what the quality of everybody else was doing about this time.
Yeah. In terms of that, the other movies of this time, I'd say this movie is pretty poor.
It's fine.
It's not awful, but, the animation isn't great. The puppets are kind of uncanny, and the animation that goes along with it's pretty uncanny.
Which I actually think is kind of a benefit to it, because Alice in Wonderland is kind of a uncanny, horror-esque aside thing, in my mind at least. And I feel like this awkwardness almost helps play that up even more, but I don't think that was the intention.
Exactly. It doesn't feel intentional, and plus, this is just a really boring adaptation. A really boring, cut and dry adaptation of Alice in Wonderland.
Mm-hmm.
It just feels like it's kind of reading from the book. Which, if that's the kind of adaptation you're looking for, cool, I guess. But then it also has this weird framing device where it has, this big live-action segment at the beginning of the movie where, they try to make Alice in Wonderland make sense by giving it a whole bunch of real world symbolism to attach itself to, which,
it doesn't even really work there.
No, and then they just give up on it by the time that they actually get into Wonderland, because then when they come back to the framing device, they're like, oh, it was all a dream, not in a way that makes sense.
End the movie already.
Yeah, so the framing device is that,
Lewis Carroll, the actual Lewis Carroll, is telling the story of Alice in Wonderland to Alice and her sisters, who are the daughter of the dean of the college or
who
university.
Is supposed to supposedly be the caterpillar, I guess.
Dude, I don't know.
They have a card at the beginning of the movie that's maybe these people were based off of real people. The caterpillar was...
Mm-hmm.
And the white hair was a chancellor of the queen or whatever.
Yeah. I don't care.
It's cool. That adds absolutely nothing. And then, the queen comes to the college.
And Lewis Carroll wants to complain about a bell to the queen and get it removed, but she's like, I love the bell. And he's like, okay.
Okay.
And then he goes on a boat and tells this story while the queen continues to do her visit. And then she leaves at the end of the movie. And that's all the live action we get.
Yeah.
when we're actually in the story of Alice in Wonderland, it's Alice going in the hole and then falling and then to the door and the shrinking and getting bigger and then crying and making a sea, and then people are angry about the sea existing, and then like other things.
You don't
Somebody
need to
steals
summarize.
a tart,
Yeah.
and the Mad Hatter's there and they play croquet, and then Alice is accused of stealing the Queen's tart, and then there's like the courtroom scene, and then she wakes up. And the movie is just like, man, that was stupid, wasn't it? Bye.
The end. Yeah, and so the animation's all done with stop motion puppets. This was directed by Dallas Bauer, and the puppets and animation were done by Lou Bunnin. And like, yeah, the puppets look like Alice in Wonderland characters, but the animation isn't great. And they're trying to integrate like live action girl Alice with the stop motion puppets. And, you know, I know it's 1949, but it all just looks really bad. And like, it's really obvious
like
that
there's
they're
a cut
just
off that she's on a different screen. And
yeah,
stuff.
like it's just not well blended effects.
Mm-hmm. Like they tried. I honestly don't hold it that much against them, but it's not a film I really care about.
No, and like it's just there. So anyway, this film was made in France, and the only other really interesting thing to note about this movie is that it was blocked from being shown in the UK because of the Queen resembling the Queen too much. So, like, I don't think it was allowed into Britain until, like, the 1980s.
Wow.
Yeah. And then the other interesting note is that Disney sued a whole bunch of theaters in the US so that they would not show this movie because Disney was working on Alice in Wonderland at the time. So it got a very, very limited release here in the US.
Wow, Disney. Thanks.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it just goes to show Disney's been doing this shit for ever. But yeah. It's so dumb. It's just one of those like, yeah, we're working on an adaptation of this, so don't you dare.
Even though your adaptation is still better, you didn't need
It's
to
still
do this?
better and different enough. Like, honestly, watching this movie, I'm just like, I wish I was watching the animated one, because at least it's all animated.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, I don't like it, but at least it's all animated. But then, you know, you also hear the flip side of that, of like, Disney's like, yeah, we're gonna
sue people and threaten and belittle people into not showing our competitors. It's like, guys, you already have the better film. Stop it.
Stop it. Yeah.
And you wonder why people don't
like you. Yeah, exactly. Are we the baddies? No shit.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think that's going to be it. A really short review this time.
Yep. And join us back here next time as we watch another film from in the past. We are going forward to 1956, and we are watching The Enchanted Village from Canada. So that'll be exciting.
Okay, cool. See you then.